Earlier today, this post got to the front page of Reddit because a CS2 Pro, Crad, posted it on Twitter suggesting that something was really weird. Because if you look at the bottom right, PR from Mouz NXT looks down several times away from his monitor in the middle of a clutch. I think he does it 3 or 4 times before the round ends. And if you look at the comments on the thread, what is bro looking at? Serious question. Everyone seems to be thinking that the idea is that he might be using something like a radar hack, which is fair because it's quite weird. However, I think it's important to look at this from the perspective of if he was using a cheat, how does this make sense? Because while I think looking down like that is weird, you have to keep in mind that if he was cheating, you're expecting to see some crazy clips of him. For example, if he looked down, saw the player donut on his radar, and then spun back around and killed them, that would be very weird. But let's look at the situation, because he's clearing CT here, no idea where his opponent is. Maybe he knows that he has to have been on CT side, which means he could be, sniper's nest, going donut, or temple, or, just around the corner CT, that type of thing. Or I think that's the situation he's in. This is the moment you would look at your radar to know, do I have time to stick it? Maybe I can fake it, because if he's in temple and PR fakes it and looks temple, that's a super normal play, right? If you knew he was on this side of the site, very normal to fake and look temple and just gamble on that. But instead, he doesn't look down at all. Then he sticks the bomb, and then he looks down at supposedly his radar. And when he sees the players flanking him donut, he does nothing and just lets himself lose. From the perspective of he's cheating, let's make this make sense, this really makes almost no sense. And I think when you're looking at how many pros we have, a lot of people are going to have small ticks, small things. I know that there are pro players that will sometimes take their hand off their mouse and wipe it on their mouse pad in the middle of a round. People have small things that they do that don't make sense. And I want to show you a couple of clips, because I'm going to show you a clip from Nemanha, who people also think is cheating as well, because I think it's getting out of hand how hard people are taking one clip out of context and assuming someone must be cheating. But if you look at the comments here, people really do think this means he's cheating, except for eventually I come in and, in my opinion, I'm a voice of reason that this doesn't really make sense if he is cheating, and I get linked these clips here. And this clip on Nuke, I think, is especially interesting because it looks, again, very illegitimate. He's going to be in a clutch here in a second. We can skip forward. He's going to be in a clutch here that he almost wins. In fact, he comes extremely close to winning this clutch. 1v4, although the first kill was a trade. Spins around, 2 players running at him. He gets the 2 kills. Then he's going to look down right now. Then he looks back up. And this is a situation where if you had radar, absolutely you might be looking down at your radar, except not really, in my opinion. And Mouz's coach said just about the same thing. I'll show you in a second. But here, if you look at his opponent is sprinting at him. He's running out. He opens the door. He strafes forward. What would you be looking at your radar there for if you had a radar? Well, you might be looking at your radar to, well, it doesn't really make that much sense because he can hear him sprinting and he opened the door. Now, he might be looking at the radar, if he had one, to be checking if his opponent swings out on him, but then maybe he probably wouldn't have gotten off the bomb, but he could hear him the whole time. This is what I mean in that these clips, when you actually break it down, instead of going, why does this mean he's cheating? Well, it means he's cheating because it's weird and he has to be cheating because it's weird. But I feel like if you look at this from the perspective of if he is cheating, how does this make sense? The answer is it doesn't. It doesn't make sense for him to be cheating like this, in my eyes. Now look, I'm not saying he's not cheating. He definitely could be cheating, but these clips aren't great evidence. A clip that would be good evidence is if he looks down and then he does something really weird. Like in the ancient clip, if he looked down and then spun around and cleared donut, that would be really weird and that would be great evidence. But people have small ticks, small weird things they do, and I don't think analyzing it from the outside as if everything you do makes perfect sense at all time, which I guarantee it doesn't, you just don't even realize, is great. And I want to use another clip I saw the other day to really point this out as well, is this clip from Nemanha, who I've made a video on already that a lot of people think are cheating. And it's not that this clip doesn't look suspicious, because it most definitely does. He spams the boost, moves over, spams the boost on the other side. That does seem insane. And if I remember correctly, this is against Sinners, by the way, if I remember correctly, even their coach suggests that this is weird. I'm not sure if Cha-Cha is their coach, but the coach or their analyst, I believe, or their assistant coach or something from Sinners says, this is really weird. I mean, look how many times we did this. We only did this boost once, and he spams it the one time. But there's other context that needs to be actually addressed, because if you look at Zero Tenacity's games, Nemanha, by the way, typically isn't their connector player. He's their secondary connector player. He's often in a lot of other positions. I think he rotates around the map a decent amount, right? So, and when he does go connector as the second player, he very often will, as the smoke goes down, spin around and look at that boost very often. But when it's not smoked off, or when he's late and there's been no contact in connector, he will often hard clear this angle as he moves up. Even when his teammate already potentially could have died to that spot, he still loves to hard clear this angle. And I checked this in the demo, by the way. He is actually, in this case, looking straight at this boost when he goes for that peak. And he does that a good amount of the time. He just seems to be really worried about that boost. And if we look at the game against Sinners and how things had been going before that spam, he had been going double connector quite often, and his opponents in general had seen it many times. They had seen either they were doubled up in connector and spotted someone, or you could just tell, you could infer it based on the way the round went, that they were very heavy in connector, and Sinners does like to play connector a decent amount of the time, so they got into some gunfights throughout the half. And this is the type of boost you might be expecting if your opponents know that you're often in connector with two players, and they've already lost players to that type of play. Maybe doubling up or sending a player into connector isn't working out for you, so you go for that type of boost. Now, again, I'm not saying this play isn't weird. It absolutely, definitively is a crazy spam that I don't mind using as evidence that something suspicious is happening. However, the context of the situation it happens in is incredibly important, and I feel like the context is often lost because people are so hyped to just accuse everyone of cheating. By the way, watching this clip back, if he is cheating, why go for that suspicious of a spam? Why not just kill the player bathrooms, because you have two players in connector and one in mid? You can 3v1 the guy bathrooms and then fake A and go B or something like that. And look, I understand if he is a cheater, I mean, cheaters don't often think right, you know, they make mistakes, but there is a level of everyone assuming, oh, if he's cheating, he's got like 3,000 IQ. There's no way to disprove it because he could just be, you know, not clearing something because he knows it looks weird if he clears it. If he clears it, only when players are there. But then at the same time, everyone plays as if they're the smartest players ever, but then also plays like they're total idiots that will make the most suspicious play of all time if they actually were cheating. There seems to be a bit of a double standard that annoys me a bit. I'm sure there might be cheaters in the tier 3 scene. However, in order to call cheats on someone, I think you need really, really compelling evidence, and that means looking at the context around suspicious clips, not just at the clips themselves. Anyways, the fact that this one post got to the top of Reddit with such obvious flaws behind it is really what prompted me to make this. So hopefully, if anything, I could change one person's mind that just because something looks weird if he's legit, maybe try and analyze it from the idea of how can we prove that this isn't illegitimate? And then only try and say he might be cheating once you get to the point where there's no real good justification for why he is legit based off this clip. Because with this PR clip especially, there's plenty of reasons it wouldn't make sense for this to be explained by cheating.